I think people should come to this festival because it's important. There's a few reasons. It's important. Everything that's being talked about and shared, the stories being told, are majorly extremely important. Like I said earlier, there aren't enough people that know all of these things. I think, again, people don't know how big of an issue this still is. I think it's important that people come see this just like that as a reminder that this is still something that we struggle with. This is still something that we need to put our best foot forward on and really start making a difference, really start making an impact in people's lives. And I think people need to come see it because this is, we're at a turning point for theater again. Theater was virtual for a long time. But I think virtual theater is becoming a new part of our norm, and I think that's absolutely amazing. Because there are people out there that can't access the theater. They can't get to the theater. I think people need to see the show because it's a reminder as well that that we are now being able to broadcast to a larger audience, and I think that's important because that means that we can get help from more people. We can educate more people through this platform. I also think it's important because I think this is happening at a perfect time, with the Talking Now's main base being in New York. Broadway's coming back, theater's back on the rise in so many capacities now. And the arts are important. Live theater, whether you're seeing it in the auditorium itself, or you're watching it over Zoom, or you're watching it through a YouTube link, a Vimeo link, you're watching it on your computer, both experiences at this point have the same weight and level of importance. It's live theater in general. Like we are watching people we're watching playwrights put themselves into these stories. We're watching these actors really engulf in these characters. We're watching, the work that directors put in. Countless hours of how do I make these playwrights' words come to life? How do I give the actors the tools they need to do that? It's so vastly important. I think being a theater artist, I think it was vastly underappreciated before the pandemic. And I think having to do, with 2 years of virtual theater, I think people understood how important this was. People missed this. When Zoom theater became a thing, I saw showcases where for one performance, hundreds of thousands of people were watching at once. Like, obviously you can't do that in an auditorium and have that many people in one space. People miss this, and it's important. Theater's important, and people need to come watch this because it's important. My name is Cole Hunter Dzubak. I am a playwright being featured in the Talking It Out Festival with my piece Hoplo. And if you want to learn more about my play in particular, listen to this conversation. It was the first time I've heard of this festival, but just reading about it, I think I was so entranced by the idea of it. I think mental illness is something that isn't talked about enough. Of course, coming from a place of looking at like me with my disability that I believe isn't talked about enough, I really related to that idea of, people don't know enough about it. There's a lot of negative and really harmful stereotypes out there that people don't fully understand. And I could relate to that. And I mean, I've had mental health struggles in the past as well. I've seen people struggle. I've seen people harm themselves. I've seen people lose their lives because of issues like these. And it's not an easy thing, but I think when I saw it, it just reminded me that that I have a story to tell, and that I need to, when I write my shows about my condition, it's because I want to educate people and I want to remind people that this is an issue that they need to worry about. And when I saw this opportunity, I think that was the thing that ran in my head, is that I need to be a part of this because I need to remind people that this is still an issue, and that we need to continue making these steps. We need to make further steps than where we are now. So when I saw that, I knew this was something that I was going to do. I had the perfect piece to submit, and I'm really happy. The piece that is being presented, Hoplo, I just finished like a fifth draft of it when I found this submission link. So I was really fortunate to have just finished working on this really, really close to my heart piece that worked perfectly for this festival. Where did the story idea come from, and why did I need to write it? The story came from a less meaningful place, I'd say. I was in a 30-day playwriting challenge. In one day, the prompt was write about a phobia, and I found the list of every phobia that's been diagnosed, and I chose a random letter, and I chose a random one in that letter, and I ended up landing on H, and then landing on hoplophobia, which is the fear of guns. And that's where the idea birthed from. When this all happened, though, it was the 2-year anniversary of Douglas Stonewall shooting. It was the 5th year anniversary, or around the 5th year anniversary. There was a shooting in my hometown that killed one of my classmates. So I think when I landed on that word of just out of pure randomness, it reminded me of all these things that I've lived through. I've lived through a lot of seeing in the news of different places going through this horrific thing that is a live shooting. And I don't think it's talked about in a sense that I think a lot of people are numb to it. You see a lot of things where a new tragedy like this happens, and it's like people react in a way of like, that's another one. I think as a kid, I remember it being more of like a shock when these types of things happened. And at this point, people seem so numb and undisturbed, for lack of a better word. Just kind of like there's no hope anymore. They're so numb to it. It happens so often that they just expect it to happen. And that's really what I wanted to tackle and focus on, was that idea, the idea of losing hope. And I knew I wanted to tell a story that brought that hope alive, that, things are bad now, but you have to find the good at the end of the tunnel. I think the main character I named Hope for that exact reason, just that extra piece of symbolism. But it's a short piece, but you see a really big journey of, at the beginning, not being sure, not having hope that she can continue on and live a normal life. I mean, I hate to say that phrase, but like when you go through something like that, like a lot of things change. And at the beginning, she doesn't know, she's not sure, but by the end of it, you really see a full arc. You see her grow. There's hope for the future. There's hope that she can move on and grow from this experience and be able to live her life without being able to move on from what happened. And that was my main goal, was to tell a story that inspired people that, yeah, things are really bad now. But if we work together, there's hope that things will get better. I think that was a really important story to tell, especially when I wrote it, and still now, I think it's still really important to tell. I think it's still something that people struggle with, whether in context of being in this tragedy or in any other context. Being a survivor of suicide, being a survivor of addiction, overdose, anything like that. People lose hope for all different types of reasons. The story's universal in that way. that sometimes you have to fight to find that hope, but there is always still hope in some amount, and you just have to find it, and you have to hold on to it as hard as you can. I want the audience to take away a few things. Of course, going back to the idea, there is hope. I talked a lot about that. And I'll talk shorter here, but like, yeah, I mean, I want the audience to come out of that show hopeful. That whatever struggles you're going through, whatever struggles people you care about are going through, no matter how bad things may be or how bad things you perceive to be, there is hope that things will be better. That's a big thing. I think I just want audiences to leave the show too, knowing that this is still an issue. Not even just the tragedy of, a live mass shooting, but also that just mental health in general, that a lot of people struggle with it. I don't think people think about how many people in the world struggle with mental health issues, mental illness in general. There's a lot of people out there struggling in different ways, and I want people to come who see the show to leave and think, my next door neighbor who waves and says hi every morning with a smile on his face could be struggling in some way, and just remember to be kind to people. When I was in school, right? We had, I think every year in high school we had the assembly about, not the anti-bullying assembly, and they show us a video of a whole bunch of kids and their stories who would end up committing suicide because they were bullied. And one of the big takeaways was always saying hi to someone could be that thing that makes their day better. And it's, in high school, I know kids thought that was silly, but growing up, living through experiences of my own, seeing all this stuff on TV that's terrible, like, yeah, sometimes that can make a person's day. Just a simple act of kindness, a hi, a hello, a smile, a handshake. Sometimes that's all somebody needs. And I want people to leave the show knowing that kindness wins. We're in a weird place now where sometimes I think some people have forgotten that kindness will always triumph at the end of the day. Sometimes maybe the battle's longer, but if you're kind to somebody, things for that period of time are going to be fine. So I want people to really remember that people are struggling, and just a simple act of kindness can really make all the difference. I think that's a really big, important lesson that people need to remember. I think a lot of people have heard that before. I think people need a reminder that is still relevant today. What am I looking forward to? I'm really interested to see what other types of stories are being told. Like I've mentioned before, there's so many different issues out there, different things to talk about, different mental illnesses, different reasons that people struggle the way they do. I'm just curious to see what other people had to say when they saw this prompt, when they saw this festival. I'm curious what inspired them. I think for me too, like I want to know other ways I can help. I want to go in. Yes, I'm excited to see my work, and I want to see the response that my work gets, but I also want to go in as a viewer, and I just want to learn. I want to listen. I want to see what other people had to say. I think as a playwright, I think I got that as an actor. As an actor, I wanted to go and watch theater to learn from the actors, from the performers themselves. And now that I've become a playwright. It's really like it's like a switch in my brain. Like sometimes I'm looking, I want to watch what the performer's doing, and then I can just flip something in my head, and then I'm listening to what they're saying. I'm looking at, I'm looking at the set. I'm looking at how certain characters interact with each other and how they interact with others, and learning as a playwright. And that's really what I want to go into this and see all these other shows, see these other stories, and really just learn, see what made these characters act the way they do. And I think with this festival in particular, I want to just learn how I can help others outside of this. You know, obviously I'm not perfect, and I'm not going into this thinking I'm going to come out perfect, but I want to be able to be better prepared if I run in situations similar to the stories that are being shared. I want to have that knowledge. Why is talking it out so important? Why do we need the community's help and support? It's important because it's touching on issues that not many people want to talk about. I think because people don't know a lot about, you know, mental illness, people don't understand sometimes the issues and struggles that people have. Something they want to brush under the rug. They don't want to talk about it. Not necessarily they want to forget it exists, but it's just something they're going to put on the back burner. I think, you know, I think it's important that this, you know, these types of festivals, and especially talking it out, gets that support, because they're doing hard work. They're raising awareness. They're spreading these stories that other people may not want to do, that some people may not want to see, but that's extremely important. There's a lot of things in this world that are important that people don't necessarily want to talk about or know enough to be able to talk about. I think it's, you know, this is for theater, this is for raising awareness. It's also to educate, so people can leave this and thinking, you know, maybe it sparks, oh, that I really loved that piece and what they talked about. I wish I knew more ways to help. We have Google. People can do a quick Google search after this and find ways to help, find organizations that they can go to and donate to or support or volunteer for. I as a playwright, I want to write about things that people aren't talking about enough, that I don't see in theater. And I want to, you know, raise that awareness. And that, you know, that's another thing that excited me about this festival, is I had a place to be able to show some of my very vulnerable work and help educate, help spread awareness. And, you know, not a lot of people, I think more people need to be willing to do that, have the hard conversations. And I think that's why, you know, that's why festivals like this, like Talking It Out, need that support from the community, because it is a hard conversation, but we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to make strides. We're not going to make an impact unless we do have these hard conversations. My name is Cole Hunter Dzubak. I am a playwright being featured in the Talking It Out Festival with my piece Hoplo. I hope everybody comes and sees it. I hope everybody comes with an open mind to learn, to listen, to feel empowered. And I hope people leave this showcase feeling hopeful for the future. See you there.